I brought today what is something that represents my way of explaining my research and what has been my research career, that are a pack of Legos. All my research career has been focused in the gene therapy. Gene therapy, in general terms, is the ability to use viruses, principally, to introduce new genetic material into the cells. So this Lego is basically the easiest way that I have to explain to everybody that I have multiple possibilities. I can combine them in the way I want or I desire to obtain. I become passionate about the field, and now it has been 12 years since I've been linked to the field, and I have been lucky that after doing the PhD, postdoc, and now in my work, I continue in the same field, and I continue exploring options that the gene therapy can give me. I've been always passionate about science, but not so passionate about the lab work. So it's different perception of what you see with other scientists in the academia. And this is the beauty of science, that there is people that is passionate to a specific or have the personality to be like it more, one of the aspects of the science more than the other. Because I was finishing my postdoc thinking about possibilities, as I think all of us get a moment when you realize that you are not finding your place in the academia, and you start to question yourself, okay, what next? Suddenly I was in the private sector, so it was not something completely planned. It was more spontaneous. You are a PhD or a postdoc, you are just working alone, doing your experiments. And very few times you had the opportunity to manage other people, to manage their experiment, to know how to encourage them to have successful results in a positive way. In my day-by-day, I work as a project leader of one of the portfolio projects of the company. So I always involve into organizing what is the next steps for the project. So I have several meetings. But in between, I also combine with lab work. So it can be that I spend 2-3 hours in the lab doing some experiments, moving cells, or doing some readout, and then I combine it with the meetings that I have. And as a project leader right now, I have to manage around 30 people in all different sectors of the company, and to have the options to have a global view of the project at the same time that I come to a specific task for every person, and to identify, okay, where are the problems and how we can mitigate those problems and how we can move in a faster way. So all the management part and to the social relationships of how to be a good leader has been something that I've been learning in the day by day, because I didn't bring it from the academia. I have a 9 to 5 p.m. job, strictly speaking, with a lot of freedom of hours of working. I mean, in my company, they recommend a certain number of hours per week, but you can always, and this is something nice from science that I found in my life, you can always organize your schedule. If one day you can work extra hours, the other day you focus in some other aspects and you cannot work the full hours, it's always possible. But you always have the goal, a deadline to fulfill, and that's important. From the family point of view, for them, the academia or the private sector doesn't make a big impact, and they feel that equally is productive and is helpful. What they think is more important is that I feel comfortable with what I'm doing, that I still feel that I'm challenged every single day, because they know that if I'm boring what I'm doing, I will lose the motivation and I will just not enjoy my day by day. When I start working, I think Belgium has this nice particularity that all the academia or the private sector, especially in science, are really international. So you will find an international environment everywhere you go. And even Belgian companies like UCB, they are adapted to that. And I didn't confront any limitation due to the language or the characteristic of being from Colombia. I confront these comments initially, like, well, specifically like why you moved to the private sector. You could continue in the academia, try to push forward in the academia. I always think of them as a positive criticism from people who are worried for your career. But at the end of the day, you have to think what is best for you, to find a place that you are happy doing what you are working with. And independent if it's in the academia or the private sector, you can feel that you are accomplish your day-by-day goals and that you are doing some positive research that will bring an impact to society in the future. And as I always say to my junior colleagues, don't forget that science is not about you. Science is about what we can do all together and what we can collaborate with all together. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know who is the best in doing a technique. So you go to that person for advice, you go to that person for a collaboration, and you don't try to reinvent the wheel just because you feel that you need to know everything.